Hi guys, so this is my outline for my drugs and behavior class for chapter 11 on caffeine. I did pages 243 to 247. So to start off, we talked about caffeine, the world's most common psychostimulant. On a daily basis, more people use caffeine than any other drug. Now, so domesticized that many people in kitchens have coffee makers. Um, the book starts off with talking about coffee in general. The idea of coffee is said to have started with the Ethiopian goat herd named Kaldi, who couldn't understand why his goats were running around the hillside so playfully. The story says that he followed them and ate the red berries that the goats were eating and became a very, very happy goat herd. Kaldi had taken the first human coffee trip a holy man took in the scene, and that night danced with Kaldi and the goats. From here, the practice spread to Egypt and other Arabic countries by the 1400s and throughout the Middle East by the 1500s, and then into Europe by the 1600s. Coffee houses began spreading in England and France, and a new era began. Coffee houses were all things to all different people. It was a place to relax, to learn the news of the day, to seal bargains, and to plot. For a penny a cup, people could listen and learn from the best literary and political figures of the period. Women in England argued against the use of coffee in 1674 and created a pamphlet titled Women's Petition Against Coffee. Women claimed men used too much coffee, and as a result, men were seen as unfruitful. Some men probably sat long hours in one of the many coffee houses composing the men's answers to the women's petition against coffee. And then across the Atlantic, coffee drinking increased. Then the book starts talking about tea in this section of coffee. So it was cheaper and more available than coffee. And tea had everything, including a 3 pence a pound tax on its importation. The British Act that taxed tea helped fan the fire that lit the musket, that fired the shot, and heard around the world, which is how the book exactly stated it. Coffee became country's new national drink. After the prohibition went away, coffee consumption continued to rise. In 1946, annual per capita coffee consumption reached an all-time high of 20 pounds. The book begins to talk about Caldi's story again. Caldi and his friends were content to simply munch on the coffee beans and put them in the hot water. However, somewhere in the past, Middle Easterns discovered that roasting the green coffee beans improved flavor, aroma, and the color of the drink made from the bean. Commercial roasting started in 1790 in New York City, and the process gradually spread throughout the country. The roasted beans deteriorates within a month, so it doesn't last at all. So people came up with the idea of vacuum packing. So vacuum packing of ground coffee was introduced in the 1900s, and it's a process that maintains the quality of the bean until seal is broken. Coffee growing spread worldwide when the Dutch began cultivation in the East Indies in 1696. Latin America had an ideal climate for growing coffee. Different varieties of the coffee tree and different ways to grow and process conditions provide many opportunities for varying the characteristics of coffee. So many bean producing shrubs in the genus Caffeia. Virtually all coffee is made from two species, Caffeia arabica, which is a milder flavor, takes longer to develop, and requires a near tropical climate to grow. And then the second one is Caffeia robusta, which is a stronger, bitter flavor, higher caffeine content, and used in less expensive blends to make instant coffee. So, beginning in the 70s, health conscious Americans began to drink less caffeinated coffee and more decaffeinated coffee. So, the idea of regular made coffee kind of went away. Well, I shouldn't say went away, it became less popular. There were several ways to remove caffeine from the coffee bean. However, the book noted the one way is unroasted beans are soaked in an organic solvent, and that raised concerns about residues of the solvent remaining in the coffee. Because the most widely used solvent was methylene chloride. So, and one of the largest decaffeinated companies is owned by Coca Cola. And then the book talks about in another section about tea. So, tea and coffee are not like day and night, but their differences are reflected in the legends surrounding their origins. According to one legend, Daruma, the founder of Zen Buddhism, fell asleep one day while meditating. The legend says, in result, he cut off both of his eyelids, where his lids touched the earth, grew a new plant, and from its leaves, a brew could be made to keep a person awake. Then came, of course, the tea tree. Um, the book notes Thea sinensis is an evergreen, and sinensis is the Latin word for Chinese. And from that, the book notes the first report of tea that seems reliable is in a Chinese manuscript from around AD 350 when it was seen as a medical plant. So yeah, that is my outline for the beginning of chapter 11, and I hope that was helpful.